What is up, everyone? We are Here live, obviously, Ryan will not be here at the moment. He's hoping to join soon, but we're coming at you live after the Baltimore Orioles defeat the Kansas City Royals to take the 3-game series in Kansas City. I'm not alone. We also do have Kevin Ostreicher and Brad in. I'm not going to say in studio here. We're all doing this remote.
We're in our own studios.
Yeah.
We're in the homemade studios today, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the Orioles had another impressive series win against quite possibly the feistiest team I've ever seen in the Kansas City Royals. I hated every second of that series, and I'm okay with saying that. It just felt like that team was never out of it. We saw it yesterday. We saw it the day before. Every time the Orioles took 2 steps forward, it felt like the Royals kept matching it in some way. So, initial thoughts, Kevin, how are we feeling after the series win?
About as good as you can. I mean, you mentioned it. That series was never going to be an easy one. I mean, you also kind of talk about after the first game, which obviously didn't go the Orioles' way, people are just like, get out of this thing with 1 win and just you're never going to see them for the rest. It was just get out of it with a win, and that's it. Second game got a little dicey towards the end. I mean, the Orioles get up big, and then obviously we know the bullpen couldn't necessarily – well, they held it eventually, but it took a while to get there. But then this game, 5-0 shutout, Cole Irvin doing his thing. And I think for Irvin, he's someone that, there was a lot of conversation about him early in the season. After last year, he obviously added the velocity that we talked about throughout the spring, which looked awesome. I'm super happy for Cole Irvin and how he was able to really just shut down the Royals offense. 4 hits total, great performance. And I think it's about as good as you can ask about a Royals team that is putting everybody on notice so far this year.
Yeah, I think that is the biggest thing right now is Cole Irvin. Let's give a round of applause real quick for Cole Irvin. A lot of people have been on this. Every time Cole Irvin is pitching, every time someone in the minor leagues does well, it's, hey, can we get Cole Irvin out of the rotation? I think people don't understand that in a lot of ways they're expecting too much of Cole Irvin. They expect Cole Irvin to be this ace, this top-of-the-rotation guy. Cole Irvin is a guy that the Orioles think can go out and just get them, eat innings and get them wins. And that's exactly what he did today. 6 2/3, no runs, 4 hits, 2 strikeouts, did have the 2 walks, but just looked incredible from the second he got there. I've seen a few comments already talking about Salvador Perez. I am so happy the Orioles don't have to face Salvador Perez or Bobby Witt Jr. anymore this season, in the regular season at least, because those are 2 menaces. It seemed like Salvador Perez just had the Orioles number from the start of this series. Brad, how are you feeling after this one?
I'm feeling good, man. Look, obviously, you get a little nervous with the bullpen this entire series because it seems like Dean Kramer threw an absolute gem last night, and then the Royals come back after the Orioles hit a 7-run second inning, and make it interesting. Dean was kind of upset with himself. I don't know why he should have been. I thought he did a great job. Obviously, nobody's a harder critic than yourself on a lot of things, and Dean seems to be that guy. But I mean, my God, he pitched a great game, especially coming off of a rough outing the game before in the last series. So like the bullpen definitely has me scratching my head a little bit. Cano had a rough series. You could kind of pinpoint a couple of things. But they'll get cleaned up. I'm not worried about it. The KC is a good team. It's just it's a little bit nerve wracking when you see your starters actually go, and do well, and then the bullpen kind of lets them get back in the game. Would be a little bit nervous if that continues to happen this season.
Yeah, and I think that is kind of an overarching theme over this weekend was a little bit of uncertainty in the bullpen. So let's start all the way back. Friday night, it's the game no one wants to talk about this series, but it happened. Orioles it seemed like they were in the game the entire time. Dean Kramer over 6 innings of great ball being pitched. He goes out there, gives the Orioles exactly what they had hoped for. I think we also just got someone who joined the stream if he wants to come up here and talk a little baseball. But there you have it. Ryan Ripken in the flesh, in the house. There we go, Rip. But real fast, we start Friday. Dean Kramer puts out an unbelievable performance. Orioles bullpen kind of finds themselves in a tough situation. A lot of pitches. I can't even be upset at Friday because it seemed like Dean gets the strikeout there on that 3-2. A lot of people thought was a strike. Gets called a ball on Bobby Witt Jr., and then the wheels start turning. You get 5 runs after that when you think you should have been out of the inning. Bullpen obviously struggles. Adley comes back with the grand slam to bring it within 2. Next inning, the Royals get the 3-run home run. Really kind of separates them, kind of puts the nail in the coffin for that game. So that is one of those games where you just chalk up at the end of it. You're like, we lost. We got outplayed. We lost. It's a tough one. But what a bounce back the next 2 games for the Orioles, kind of really just asserting themselves as even when times weren't the best, they made it happen. So, Ryan, since you just joined us, what are your overall thoughts so far of how you feeling?
Well, first off, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
That's great. That's great. Well, guys, good to see you. Welcome into this Sunday conversation. I just like to phrase it this way. And I'll just be blunt. Despite all the issues that the Orioles have, they sit at 14-7. And quite frankly, they have only lost, if my math's correct here, they've lost 2 series. They've lost to the Milwaukee Brewers, where the world did end on about a lot of places in Oriole Birdland, and they lost to the Pirates. And in both series, honestly, the only series where they were truly outplayed from start to finish was the Milwaukee series. It's the only series. Pittsburgh, they could have won the series. But what I'm trying to get, the point I'm trying to get across is that this team is balancing. Guys, we had Jim Palmer, the man, the myth, the legend, on talking about this. It's a balanced group. It's a talented group. And when you have enough talented players on your roster, you're going to find ways to win games in multiple ways. And for the Orioles, Game 1, you get taken behind the woodshed. Game 2, you bounce back. It gets a little and then Irvin has the best of the year. You get
1 sec, Ryan.
You got going through some technical difficulties with the microphone.
We sound like the Masson broadcast
It's your AirPods.
for a second. Yeah, it's definitely the.
Yeah, whoa.
Uh-oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh.
All right. Actually, I have to bring this up since that just happened. Biggest reason I'm happy to get out of Kansas City, I don't know. Yes. Thank you. I don't know what was going on, and they brought it up, Kevin Brown and them, a few times, but they could not get the audio right in Kansas City on the Masson broadcast. I'm not sure how many of you were able to watch on Masson, but there were a few times, even Brown, Ben McDonald were like, we are so sorry. We are trying to figure out what's going on right now. So everyone who, when we have some technical difficulties, just remember Masson does as well. So it happens. But now that he just yes, if
he might have gotten a call. Yeah, he might have gotten a call.
If you did not catch the Jim Palmer interview, we did have 1 or 2 times where Jim got a phone call mid-interview and the voice started going places and muting itself. But back to the Orioles this series, I think I'm just honestly proud of this team because especially after night 1, we talked about how you got taken behind the woodshed. It was not a game you felt good about. Then the next game, okay, you're not feeling great after game 1. How are you rewarded? Oh, you get one of the best pitchers in the league right now, under 2 ERA with Cole Reagans. So it was an opportunity, it felt like, for the Royals to really take over, yet the Orioles came out and just immediately, second inning, 7 runs, get Reagans out of the game. You were hoping to get a little bit more after that, but for the most part, that was a game that I was super happy with, especially the first 6 innings. So let's kind of talk about that importance of, Kevin, if you want to start of getting to Reagan's that early and getting a guy like him out of the game?
Well, I mean, there's so the obvious answer is Reagan's is one heck of a pitcher. And if you can get to him like that, and obviously it all came in the one inning, but it's almost like we were talking about when Corbin Burns had that start. I think it was 2 starts ago. And there was a lot of stuff that went wrong for him in a vacuum, but he was able to get out of it and it didn't hurt him too much. With Reagan's, and he's one of the better pitchers in this league. Like, we all know how good he is, but the floodgates just opened for the Orioles in that second inning. So to me, it was so important. And obviously you talk about how important it was because of the final score and how the bullpen, but you need as much insurance as you can get. And against a guy like Reagan's, you're not expected to have an inning like that. Like, he's such a shutdown pitcher in most instances, where an inning like that is so rare. So to be able to get him out, get to him early. I mean, we saw what he did to the Orioles last time he went out there. I mean, he was slicing them up and dicing them up. And I know with that lineup in particular, I know all the lefties, the lefty controversy when that lineup first dropped, that everybody, I don't know if you guys saw it, but all up and down
It's a punt lineup.
This is a terrible lineup. Why are they throwing all these people out there? It's terrible. And then there's a 7-run second inning. So Brendan Hyde might know a little bit what he's doing, just a hair. And I think that was honestly, I mean, when people were talking about that first game and how it didn't go Baltimore's way, the reason why people were like, all right, just get one and get out of there, is because they saw Reagan's on the bump and they were like, oh, wow, well, obviously Burns is one heck of a pitcher himself, but this was Reagan's Burns part 2. And the first one, obviously Reagan's diced him up. So I think that was important. And you could argue maybe, although the bullpen did not do great, might have set the tone a little bit for the offense, who was able to put up 5 today.
Yeah, and you guys can still hear me, right? Is that you? I spit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, something I wanted to point out, a comment here, because he deserves some love as well. Ramon Urias coming off the bench, just simply doing exactly what you hope a guy like that can do. Slow claps right there for Ramon. And it's something that actually, Ryan, you've talked about a lot in a situation like that, where it is not in the major leagues and really any level of baseball to get inconsistent playing time and be able to come off the bench and produce. And it's why they're not jumping the gun with a Kobe Mayo, with a Heston Kjerstad, because they want these guys to get consistent at-bats. They want them to stay in the minors and be able to play every day until an opportunity for more consistent playing time arises in Baltimore. With that being said, it's because you don't know how guys are going to react, how they're going to play when they get inconsistent playing time. Ramon Urias, on the other hand, he has shown ever since Jackson came up, and he has kind of been playing in these spot starts, these coming in these late situations to pinch hit, be a defensive replacement. He has been incredible since that happened. And Ryan, I kind of want you to talk about this a little bit, just how hard it is for a player to be coming off the bench. I think he's only gotten something like 7, 8, maybe 9 at bats in the last 8 or 9 games. That's not easy to do. And what's he doing? He's hitting close to 500 in those situations. So really just a shout out to him for being such a professional and being able to adapt to that circumstance and still thrive.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm good.
Is this better?
Yeah.
Very
Much
good.
better.
Well, go tuck yourself in, Kevin. But in general, yeah, it's just taking strays, Kevin, just like people.
Yeah, I'm used to it at this point. I'm used to it.
I had to. No, in all seriousness, I know a lot of people look at some comments that we make, or even comments that I make, as being a homer or being biased, right? And if I am a little bit biased, well, too damn bad. But I like to think I have a pulse on how guys work. And so when we talked about guys like Ramon Urias, and Mike Elias even touched on it too, and I'm actually going to play a clip here in a second, is that all of the Orioles position players could start on some other team. They really could, but not all can. And then also, not everyone can start. So how do you learn how to play off the bench? And that's why I said a guy like Ramon Urias understood that he wasn't going to be an everyday guy. I still thought there was a spot for him on the team, and still will be, because he is understanding of his role. And actually,
But before I even explain a little bit more, I've waited to play this clip. This is another clip we had with Mike Elias when we were talking about prospects coming up. But I want you to listen to the end part here where Mike talks specifically about how it is a hard transition for players to be able to come off the bench and not be the everyday guy.
Talented players where they're not playing every day. You're still on the development side for these guys, with certain guys that are highly viewed throughout the baseball world as being top prospects. If we're saying it's the Kobe Mayos or Heston Kjerstads, they're saying, oh, they're doing great. And they are. But you're right. They're still at an age too where the value of them playing every day is still so valuable as compared to some other guys where they've been around longer and they kind of understand what their role is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I think there are young players, guys in our system, whether they're 100% ready for the big leagues or not, different conversation. But even if they were, if they're not going to be able to play when they're up here, you don't necessarily want a player that young that you view as a long-term, everyday guy to spend 3 months sitting on the bench and never playing. There's limits to the benefits of that experience. So, that can often be part of the calculus. Whereas if it's a guy in his 30s, been around the block a little while, has settled into a role, we embrace that on the bench. And oftentimes those guys, coming off the bench is hard. You have to know how to prepare. You have to anticipate situations. You have to keep your body loose without wearing yourself out unnecessarily. And so they're often better at actually doing the role too.
Yeah. So you guys heard that at the end. They're better at doing the role. That's a hard thing to understand. So a lot of prospects that are coming up. So you guys have heard me discuss this in the past. Guys that came up last year, Colton Cowser, playing every day in the minor leagues, not playing every day in the big leagues. And you have a guy like Jordan Westberg, who still, Westy got more at-bats than Cowser last year, and he got in a little bit of a rhythm. Those things matter. And so when you look at a guy like a Ramon Urias, when I was trying to explain to people, Kobe Mayo, Jackson Holliday, all those guys were not in Baltimore, sorry. They were not being called up because they were being blocked by those players. It was solely are they going to play? And if they're going to play enough, then you put them up there. But if they're not, those guys are still young, where a guy like Ramon Urias and Jorge Mateo have already been in this position that they don't want to risk the long-term potential for some of these guys. And by the way, shout out Michael Elias for using the word calculus thrown into the baseball equation. Sucked at calculus personally. I was okay at calculus. But what we can understand, what we can both agree on, is that this business of the game of baseball, there's so many different layers to it. And what I love is that the guys that the Orioles do have, the guys that are in those bench roles, understand what they need to do. And that is a value in itself that I don't think that people fully understand. And I'm really happy for Ramon. What I say, don't let Ramon get hot. And Brad, look, Elias, he said it when we were there, when we had that interview too. A lot of talent. It's a tough decision in general, but this is still a team that has had a lot of success with the guys that they still have in the building, and now the O's are sitting at 14-7.
Yeah, man. I think a couple. So it's kind of funny, and I'm not saying that this is all O's fans, but it's just puzzling to me how as an Orioles fan, we've been in such poverty when it comes to good players and talent, and now it's just it's in an abundance, but there's still things to complain about. I know it's frustrating to go out there and see Jackson Holliday just not get on base, but I will say, he's been hitting some pretty hard balls today. He made some pretty good contact. There was that one at bat where he kind of got in his own way, I think, on that full count with the fastball right down the middle. But he's making good contact. I think it's just a matter of time when it comes to not hitting it straight to an infielder, right? And so it's just gonna have to take patience. And as long as the Orioles continue to keep winning, everybody else around him is doing really well. I have to imagine that it's gonna rub off on him sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Hey, how much have you guys touched on Jackson so far? What did I miss?
0.
None. We haven't done
None.
Oh, well, this is a perfect time to talk about it. And before we do, hit that like See, Brad, he does more than just does all the producing for us. He's a man of many talents. And one of those talents is making sure that you guys hit that like and subscribe button. We put that in the comments here. But if you like the show, this is impromptu. We're doing Sunday. We have a show tomorrow. We have a show Thursday. So hit that like and subscribe button so you don't miss. We also are doing more with the exclusive stuff for our Holy Shirts and Pants members of the YouTube channel, by the way. So that's upcoming streams just for those members that will get even more in depth. And maybe we'll bring on a couple guests just for the streams, just saying. But let's talk about Jackson here for a second, because I did say I felt it in my plums that I thought Jackson would have a multi-hit game today. I did. But I'll tell you what, I actually really liked his at-bats despite the results when you look at it. You can look up and go, 0 for 3 and a walk. The strikeout with the bases loaded with a pitch right down the cock. And you're sitting there going, man, what the hell's going on? But in my mind, first at-bat, got up in the count, 2-0 count, right? I believe is what it was. Yeah. And grounds out. So like he's seeing the ball, putting himself in positions, not having the results. Yes, goes down on the second at bat. And the third at bat, specifically against that lefty, the at bat was really second at bat was the line out. And you're right? The second bat was the line out?
Yeah. And just real quick on that, I did just look it up on StatCast. 96 his second at bat with the guy on third, RBI opportunity, 96 miles an hour exit velocity, had a 570 expected batting average. That's telling me hits it hard, hit it just in the wrong spot. It's an unlucky hit, but you love to see that in a big situation. Jackson made contact and was not only solid contact that usually is going to get that run in.
Yeah. So again, like to the context of it, yes, the results look even more magnified because he doesn't have the hit, right? So he has the one hit. So you're going, man, these at bats suck, but they're really not bad at bats. Yes, the strikeouts are higher than you'd want, obviously, but it's not like he's going up there and swinging and missing and not taking the tough pitches. If he was swinging at bad pitches consistently, I'd be concerned. He's chasing a little bit, but the bigger part is he's getting unlucky with the hits. And then when he has a chance to put a good swing or a pitch in the zone, he's not taking advantage of it. And I actually saw, I think Paul Mancano put this up. Where is that? Yeah, I'm going to put it up right here. Because I think this is a really good context of what I'm talking about. And hopefully this can make more sense to people. And if I can share my screen properly. Hey, now, stop traffic. Can you guys see it?
Yep.
We good?
Yep.
Okay. So here's my example here. If I can zoom in on the screen. Come on, Ryan. Get on in there. Get up in there. Okay, so everyone, obviously, you're going to look at that one, number 6, right down the middle and go, man, that's the cock shot. Why didn't you swing at that? Well, there's a 3-2 count, tough lefty, bases loaded. And when you're not as confident right now and you're trying to think about maybe he's going to throw an off-speed pitch because he's had pretty good control. Look at the 3 pitches he threw on the outside corner. One of them was called a strike, and the other 2 that Jackson took very well for balls, right? So it's in the back of your mind, but when you're not as confident right now because things aren't going right, every hitter has this, where you take a pitch and the fan's going to sit there and go, like, holy shirts and pants, dude, that ball's right there. Why aren't you swinging? I'm telling you, every hitter goes through it where you just have a doubt that it goes into your mind, it stops everything. If Jackson was rolling on all cylinders, or just the same thing, I'll use Cowser the same way. I thought Cowser last year took a lot more pitches that he could hit because he wasn't as comfortable with what he was doing. Now you're seeing the Cowser that's hitting anything, anywhere, and he's very confident. Jackson doesn't have his confidence right now, but his eye at the plate is still elite. It just hasn't come together. I argued today that 3 of his at-bats today were really good, that I really was happy with. But the reality is you look up and go, here's another hitless outing for Jackson, but it's not as simple as that. But I'm with you guys. This game's hard. And I guess what I'll say, I can sit up here, not that I'm proud of it, but if you play baseball long enough, you go through these slumps. And the thing that sucks, the shit sucks. That's what I hate the most, is that I know what he's going through. But man, I'm not going to get pessimistic on the kid for getting off to a rough start while a team's winning. I'm just not. I mean, that's what we've talked about.
For me, you can even look at this graph right here, and I think, Ryan, you were the one who said it, where with the umpires and some of the calls that are being made, and even especially when Jackson is up there and there is a ball that is called a strike, maybe on the outside portion of the plate. If you're Jackson, you now have to say, all right, they're calling that. So now I have to protect the plate, and I have to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And it's a lot of things moving at once. And for Jackson, as we've talked about, we've had multiple guests come on this show and talk about it too. MLB pitching is not, for the most part, very rare. It's not in the minor leagues. There is an adjustment here, but we're seeing improvement, even though it's not translating to hits necessarily, an average and all of that. I think the defense has been much, much, much improved over the course of his starts. We're seeing him hit balls really hard. It's just they're not going to the right places. So I get that the average isn't great. I get the hits aren't coming, but I feel something eventually is going to happen. He's too talented. And also, I see my Twitter profile picture in the corner of that thing in the Lamar Jackson. I see I'm the first Twitter profile picture down there. I see that.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, in this economy. Last thing I'll say right here, because I see some comments and see money. I get it. You're saying no shot off speed's coming. Here's the thing with baseball. Yeah, 3-2 count. Maybe you can sell out, bases juiced. But also on the flip side, if you're a hitter that's not going well and things happen, you might not pick it up as well. And some guys might have the nuts to throw a 3-2 breaking ball. It happens a lot more than it did years ago. Okay, but the biggest thing that I take away from it, whether Jackson was fully thinking breaking ball or not, he had a doubt in his mind. He had a doubt in his mind when he was going to hit. And when you have a doubt in your mind, that's going to make you second guess. You are going to take pitches, because I can 1,000% guarantee he walked back to the dugout and went, why the hell didn't I swing there? Why? It's right there. But that's the biggest thing, is compartmentalize, and that's what I'm trying to explain as a hitter on that sense. At that level, you sit there and you have moments even at the highest level of how the hell did I get in this? And part of it goes from you just being domed up. But the biggest thing, whether it's you're thinking breaking ball or you just have a second doubt that blocks you from trusting your instincts and just seeing the ball, you're going to see more of those types of things. Like that to me was the first time really middle. Jackson struck out some pitches on the outside corner, some tough pitches, maybe out of the zone. That one was a full case of he didn't have his trust when he needed it in that situation. And the thing that sucks is he did all the hard work to get the 3-2. He battled his ass off just to take the best pitch he saw right down the middle. That's personally what I see.
And I want to bring this up too. Okay, so Jackson gets in a 3-2 count. What I also want people to understand is Calzer 2 batters before walks on 4 pitches. Then you have Jordan Westburg come up, the next batter with the bases loaded, same exact situation as Jackson, full count, literally the same thing. What does he do? He threw a changeup, I believe, some sort of off speed, low, right below the strike zone. The ball, that walk. So Jackson finds himself in the exact same situation. Guy throws a fastball over the heart. Then we go the next batter. Gunnar Henderson strikes out on a very, very tough pitch that I think when you ask, you look at it, it was a ball. It was lower than Jordan Westburg's ball that he took, but the pitcher kind of established that in 3-2 counts, he was looking to get guys to chase. He wanted to kind of play below the zone, see if he could get them to roll over and get out of the inning. I think when he was just Jackson, when he went to the plate, especially in a 3-2 count, based off of previously, they wanted to see he wanted to see something low. He expected maybe an opportunity for that to be a walk and get an RBI that way.
Yeah. I mean, here, this is the reality. And Zach, take it from a pitcher and a guy that's been in the big leagues. And we're talking about, hey, when it's back and forth game, you get beat, you tip your cap and say, hey, it is what it is. And where's Zach's comment earlier? Realizing how quick of a decision you have to make. And this is why I'm saying the preparation that goes into hitting, you have this much time. We'll use Rocco's reference. Rocco likes to get the measuring stick out, right? For different reasons. But anyway, yeah, any chance to get on Rocco too. But the amount of time you have to make a decision, but if you have to make a decision when you're not trusting your overall instincts as a player, it makes it so damn hard. Like baseball is already so damn hard. Imagine you're having a conflicting battle in your mind where you can't go out there and just let yourself do what you have to do. But like I said, I really like his takes. I really like where Jackson is, and I would feel way different about Jackson if he was not seeing the ball as well as he was not putting together some good swings, then I'd have some concerns. It's all right there. It's just so much more magnified because everyone's expecting him. We talked about this. Guys, how do we view Gunnar Henderson? What, Brad, why don't you start? How do you view Gunnar Henderson?
He's all right.
Okay. Yeah, he's all right. So MVP type player?
Three letters.
He's going to be an MVP, whether it's this year or within the next 5 years. I think he's going to be an MVP, and he's already showing those types of numbers this season. So, yeah, MVP type guy. Honestly, there's a couple of those guys on the team right now that I think could make a bid for that. But, yeah, Gunnar definitely the front runner for the team as far as MVP is concerned.
So here's my thing. People have the expectation that Jackson is supposed to be better than an MVP candidate on the team in Gunnar Henderson. Like, Gunnar Henderson is one of the best players in the world. Yeah. And I think that that's where people have to understand at times. Jackson can turn out to be everything that people hope, but the hype around Jackson feels even more centered than it was around Gunnar. And maybe because the team was trying to be on the up and up, they were still number one overall prospects, but the pressure that Jackson's had more right now to what Gunnar has become, that's hard too. So I think when we put that all together, there's a lot of expectations on the line. And that's why I think a guy like Westberg is starting to settle in, is because everyone's like, who don't even know about Westberg except us. We said Westberg would be who he is. But when you're allowed to go play without any other outside factor, when you're trying to figure it out, I mean, shit, at 20 years old, I'll tell you what, I had nothing figured out, personally, professionally. And this guy is trying to figure it out on the professional side, on one of the best teams in all of baseball, in the toughest division in all of baseball.
Well, and Westberg struggled, late last year too when he was called up. So, they all do, and I think it just one of those things where he was so overhyped coming into the season. Everybody wanted him to start opening day, and now those same people want him sent back down that were complaining about him not starting opening day. I just have to believe they're the same people that want him to send back down. So, I think that it just has to take patience. Look, Willie Mays' father threatened him to stay in the bigs, or he wasn't going to let him back into the house because he was struggling so bad, starting up. And then Willie Mays became Willie Mays, right? So I'm not saying Jackson Holliday is going to be that guy, but even the best, some of the greatest of all time, struggle coming into the big leagues. And so it's just going to take some time, just going to take some patience. And Jackson's going to be just fine, especially with how well the team's doing anyway. What do we say, Zach, before we went on? It was 9-3, 9-3, which since Jackson Holliday started. So, it's there's nothing to worry about. I said something about this, Ryan, and we can move on to the bullpen. Little bit sketch this series in particular. I know KC is a good team, but when Dean throws a gem, only allows one run, then the bullpen comes in and kind of makes a mess of things. The day before it wasn't great either. So, it just not that I would say there's any sort of panic meter going off, but definitely a rough series for the bullpen in general. What's your feedback on that?
Well, can I say one more thing about Jackson quickly before we go?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so pretty much we've seen it with Adley, seen it with Gunnar. Even if you want to go with Colton, Westberg, Grayson Rodriguez, some of these really hyped up prospects, they need some time. And I made this comparison. My government name is Locked On Ravens. I'm going to make the comparison here because that is my name. When Patrick Queen came into the league in 2020, there was a lot of hype about him because he was this guy that wasn't supposed to fall and this, that, and the other. But the Ravens have always been a consistently good team. Now, Patrick Queen was jumping into a role, and the expectation was you're not allowed to mess up. You're not allowed to make mistakes because the expectations for this team are so high already. Every mistake you make could cost this or cost that. If he was on a team, who was bad? I think Jacksonville still wasn't great at the time. So if he was on Jacksonville, the room for error would have been a lot greater in terms of, okay, you made that mistake. That's okay. We're rebuilding. You're growing with us. With this Orioles team, it's a weird combination. It's a good weird, by the way, because They're super young. They're all learning and growing together. But with Jackson, if he was on a team that didn't have a ton of expectations and he had this streak, the conversation would be, all right, still not great, but it's okay because we're learning, we're growing, we're not expecting anything. Now, the good part, and, Brad and Zach, you talked about it, was the Orioles are still winning the games when he's not hitting. So that's the good part about it.
Right.
But I just think the expectations about Jackson right now, they're so, I don't want to say inflated, that's not the right word, but they're put on such a higher pedestal in terms of you have to do this right now with no prior MLB experience because the expectations around this team are so high. And I mean, as they should be. This is a really good team, but Jackson is learning as he goes with a team that's still winning the games he plays, even though he's struggling hitting-wise right now.
Yeah. And I think in general, like to just close with that, and I'll get into the bullpen. He's a kid. He's 20. Like I said, I mean, he can't take shots at tequila, but I can for him, to try to get by this situation. He's fine. There's a lot more. I think the biggest thing is you need to stop harping on the negatives of what a guy's trying to figure out, a talented player is trying to figure out, and start to focus on a lot of the positives that are happening right now is that the Orioles are finding different ways to win despite not having it all together. So talking about the bullpen specifically, look, I mean, the bullpen we saw in Boston, lights out. It was looking really good. Kansas City was the second ranked team ERA-wise going into this matchup with Baltimore. They've since going into today, we're fifth. The Orioles went from 8th to 17th as a team in total ERA. I think that's where I just argue with people. You're going to have series. You're going to have times where things don't look good. The biggest part is the Royals' strength. The Orioles beat the Royals' strength in this series, their pitching staff. The Orioles got to Reagan's, and then in game 3 with Lugo on the mound, you got to him as well, and Cole Irvin went out there. So when you can beat another team's strength, gives you a chance. Now, I always say at times, I think that guys are trying to figure out their certain roles, and it's hard when the only two that kind of have roles are Cano and Kimbrel. And by the way, Craig Kimbrel's looked pretty damn good, right?
Yeah.
Safe to say. Craig Kimbrel's looked every bit the investment, and he also understands what his role is. A lot of these guys are coming in different situations, and you guys might think that that's not a little thing that matters, but it is. That anyone can be put in different – there's probably 3 guys I'd say right now that they know they're going to be put in the crunch situations. Danny Coulombe, Cano, and Kimbrel, probably the 3. The rest of the guys, it's like, hey, you could be thrown in to eat innings, or you could be put in a high leverage situation, and that takes more experience and time. So I just think it's so early to cross the bridge of like hitting the panic button on guys where you see all what they're capable of. Now, this is July, and the Orioles are, these games that they're finding more ways to lose, then you got to sit there and go, hey, we got to make some decisions. But on April 21st of 2024, and in this economy, Brad, I think they're okay. I really think they're okay. And again, a lot of people that were shutting down what Cole Irvin was doing, guess what? Irvin showed a great outing today. And then, for me, that's what it's kind of all about. You have guys in place, but you got to let them go out and figure it out, and I think that we sometimes forget that the most important thing at the end of the day is winning. If you're winning, you can have more time to figure things out. If you lose, everybody hits panic, and then you're going to have to make things change because then you got to find what works to have success. Right, Zach? Backward hat, Zach. Looks like he has meat. It looks like he's on top.
Spirit bomb. We're on the same page here. Johan Ramirez. I don't know what that was about, but what an absolute mess from him. I'm not like attacking him personally, but just an absolutely terrible game. What 5 pitches and 1 earned run off of those 5 pitches was a bit crazy. But we'll see what happens with Johan there. But another thing that I did want to bring up too was just the usage on Big Mike Baumann. 21 games into the season, he's thrown in 10 of them, 9.1 innings pitched, and there was a lot of people that I think have given him a lot of grief. But I think from a perception for perspective, that's a lot of games that he's been involved in. It's a lot of use. I think there's two things that are happening. One, you see him more, so whenever there's a mistake, it's amplified. And then two, I think there is a case to be made that perhaps, and you can tell me because you know him more than anybody else, is there any sort of concern about overusing Big Mike? Because I mean, it's a lot. I feel that feels like a lot. He threw 64 innings last year. This feels like he's on his way to 100 plus.
Yeah, how do I want to describe this? Last year, Mike was leading the team, I think, in wins at one point last year. Just
yeah,
like
he's 10-1.
Yeah, death taxes, and Mike's sneaking out a W. And he was put in a lot of different roles and situations last year. And I think at some point, and people got to remember, he's only been a starter up until really last year. I know in 2022, he was out of the pen for the team to start, or out of the bullpen to start the season, but he's been a starter. So to change from a starter to a reliever takes a certain mentality to get used to. The second thing is in being able to bounce back consistently. And so that takes time as well. So you're looking at it, and I looked at it right now. Yeah, the bullpen's used Mike's at 9 1/3, Cano's at 9 2/3, Keegan Aiken's at 9 2/3. And so, that's more than the likes of Danny Coulombe. I think Coulombe probably, I don't know if it's updated now since then, but you're right. It is a lot of use for some of these guys. Now, I think what I'm happy about is, and this is with everything with experience, Mike learned a lot from last year. That's going to help him this year. And same with the other ones. The ones that kind of worry me in this case, and that's not because I don't believe in his talent, is Tate. It's because of him coming off of an injury, and he's trying to find his rhythm. I'm glad he got out of it and got a clean inning today, but it's been a long road for Tate. So like guys like that, I look at it, but guys like Baumann, I think you just need to stick with, because, and I've played every single level with him. I've seen all the good parts and the rip after dark parts with Mike, but what I will say, pure stuff. You need Mike Baumann on your team, and
he's got the best fastball on the team.
When Mike puts everything together, people will understand what we're talking about. But you got to keep and I think that's just the way I'm gonna leave it, because when you're looking at stuff, it's up there. So, but like I said, it's hard. Imagine like we go into work all the time, Zach, and I'm like, hey, Zach, I think I want you to help me with the Ryan Ripken show, but and I give you maybe an idea of what it's going to be, but then the next day I tell you 3 or 4 things. So kind of what I do now, right? Just 3 or 4 things, tell you what to do. And you're kind of sitting there going, well, what the hell? But in all honesty, actually, we have roles on our team here with the Ryan Ripken show. When you know what you're expected to do, it makes it easier. It's harder when you don't know what you got to expect, and then you got to go out there and be successful. Does that make sense? Am I sounding nuts? I am nuts.
Yeah. No, I think you put it perfectly. And I think that goes for a lot of guys right now. And it's such an early season problem for not just the Orioles, so many teams. This part of the year, man, I think we're not even 15% of the way through the season yet. Everyone on the team, and especially the bullpen, is trying to figure out their roles. What situations am I getting into? Exactly. Like Zach says, that's kind of what they're telling Mike right now. They're like, hey, we think you're going to be in this role, but we're also just going to throw you in these random situations where we need you to go get outs. And it is hard for guys, especially guys like Baumann. I would even say Keegan Aiken, who has thrived this year, I believe, but we've seen him all the way from mop-up duty in games that don't mean anything to high-pressure situations last night, going to get out there in the late 7th, 2 outs in the 8th inning. So it's different players are having different roles. And it's just, at the end of the day, once people start truly getting into that role and helping out their, I don't want to say mindset, but kind of like you said, Rip, getting in that mindset of, okay, here's what I'm going to do. Here's what I can expect. You can get your head right and really thrive in those situations instead of being caught off guard. And then suddenly you're trying to play in a situation you didn't expect to be in.
Yes. And that's the part. When guys, I've made this, everyone's a creature of habit, baseball players in particular. We do better with structure, with the system, what you want to do. And so that's why when Zach Lather comes on here, when he has good Wi-Fi and we have our schedule aligned perfectly, Zach can even explain more and more because Zach, I can't even tell you how many times Zach and I have just talk shop after games about pitching, about what's going through, what stuff that we're working on. These guys are doing the same thing, but now being at the big league level specifically, you're constantly evaluated. And that's the other part of it too. It's like expect the unexpected, but there's an expectation that you got to succeed. And that's a whole other element to it. And that's why guys like Craig Kimbrell that come in and some people go, he sucks. He's not as good as he is. Erroneous, by the way, erroneous comments. But there's a reason he lasted so long. He knows what he's doing. He's figured it out. But also there's a reason why Yennier Cano has figured it out recently. It takes time. You don't know until you get to that certain point, and you can have success. Ryan O'Hearn, same thing. People look at people's past. You got to look at what can be the tipping point that gets them over the hump. And right now, these guys are figuring it out while they're winning a lot of games. Like, imagine if you're the Chicago White Sox where you're trying to figure it out and you're losing every stinking game. Shout out Gavin Sheets, by the way. I hope my guy keeps doing well. It's a rough go for the Chicago White Sox right now. So context, people. The White Sox are 3-18. 3-18. Sometimes it feels like the Orioles have that record when they lose one game of a series. But it's okay. Yeah. If it's not, things go wrong, you can blame me. Definitely can blame Kevin as well.
Yeah. You know what? I'm used to it. I can be blamed. But Ryan, I wanna do a little exercise. And Zach, I did this with Zach, but you and Brad were setting up. And Brad, I want to hear your opinion on it too. Zach, you can re-give your opinion. But in terms of circle of trust, the whole team. Zach and I talked about it both for hitters and for bullpen. I don't think we did starters. But if you had to give like 3 to 5 Orioles right now who are firmly in your circle of trust, who would it be? Anybody?
For relievers?
No, for the whole team.
I mean, if I'm going to, obviously we talked about this before. If I'm going to give relievers right now, I'm loving Aiken. I'm loving, obviously, the Kimbrell. I still believe in Cano. I think the top 3, though, right now, I think Coulomb is that guy. I think he's that guy that in a high leverage situation, I want him out there. I want Kimbrell, and I'm going to put Keegan Aiken in that. No disrespect to Cano. I think he's a great pitcher. Obviously, he's having a good season. But something that Keegan Aiken has been showing me this year just really gets me excited for the kind of success he can have. Anyone else?
Do you want my opinion? Or is this
I do.
Brad? Go ahead. Brad, go ahead. What do you got? You're muted, Brad.
Yeah,
you're muted. Red 7.
Sorry,
Red 7.
We just
hot route.
we just talking about anybody, Kevin?
Yeah, anybody. Yep.
Okay, so yeah, I guess we'll take Gunnar out of this situation because he's just kind of a given. But Westy over there at third, loving what I'm seeing from him. So he's got to be in the lineup every day. Kind of don't know what that means for Colton Cal or for Kobe Mayo, but we'll see how that shakes down. And Colton Cowser. Colton Cowser's got to be in there as well every day in the lineup. And then, Tony Taters has kind of like been up and down so far this season, but like he's got to be there too. I think and Seti, everybody in this lineup. I don't know if there's anybody in the lineup, especially today's lineup, where I'm like gonna have to be nervous about this guy or that guy because they're all so damn good. That I really struggled to kind of be like, no, I don't trust any of them. And even when it comes to Jackson Holliday, we talk about his bat, but his glove, his defensive play has been really solid. So, I just trust the whole damn team. Maybe that's a cop out, but it's really hard.
It's not. You know what? I put out a tweet earlier. I said, it is naughty essentially that Cedric Mullins, Colton Cowser, and Jordan Westberg are hitting back to back to back right now in the batting order. And what's even nuttier is that they're hitting 6th, 7th, and 8th in this lineup. Like, that's what you're telling me. Jordan Westberg might be the best 8-hole hitter in the history of the game at this point. Like, the dude is on fire. And I wasn't, you guys know me, I wasn't bullshitting. When you watch Westy, there's a very good chance he's going to be at the top of the leaderboard for a lot of offensive categories based off of his ability. Colton Cowser is as hot as the sun right now, it feels like, just the confidence that he has. He's comfortable. But then veterans that you trust are going to come through in moments. Always feels like Santander and Mountie and Cedric. And so it's not a cap out at all. Like, this is the part here, Kevin, is you can go through player after player for the Orioles. Like, I still, when people said, Ryan, you really have trust in Ramon Urias? Damn right I do. He's in the lineup. The guy's going to get a knock. He came in, got a hit. If he strikes out, who the hell cares? Everyone does. But that's just what they have right now. You know, and so it's exciting. But I'm being honest, I haven't seen a lineup this deep with this much of talent, like young talent, in a long time. You know, like the Braves are disgusting, and the Dodgers with lineups, like, woof. You know, Astros during that time frame, naughty. But when you're looking at the core of what the Orioles have, you know, Seti and Santander are the old bucks on this team, and I'll tell you what, guys, they're not that old.
No, I want to add to this too, just because I do have a poll out, and this is what the poll itself. I have 4 options. I'm limited to 4 options on the poll, and I said who will have the most home runs on the O's this season, and I struggled to pick these 4. That's how good this damn team is. By the way, Cowser came in 26%. So there's 200 votes on this thing.
Wow.
People going crazy on today's poll.
Well,
26% say Cowser. Gunner's in the lead here at 62%. Tony Taters is at 10. Ryan Brohern is only at 3%, and I think that is disrespectful.
So that's the thing, is there's so many players. Like, I didn't I say before, there's 7 guys. Like, we were sitting down and trying to
the list. Yeah.
Hey, first off, timeout. Got to give Don a shout out real quickly. Oh, there we go.
All right. I am playing.
Appreciate you, Don.
Thanks, Don.
Thank you,
Don
Don.
saying Ryan, Zach, Kevin, Brad, friends of the show, Zach Lather in the chat, and where's Rocco? Everyone's favorite game. Great show, guys. Appreciate it. And C Money, hey, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, C Money.
You know what I tell people this right now? It'd be interesting moving the lineup around, but at the same time, if guys feel comfortable and they're feeling frisky where they are, I like it. I like where they are because if you guys have noticed, everyone goes, "Oh, I got to get through the meat of the order, right? I got to get through the 3, 4, 5 spots, the top of the order, and I'll feel better." The Orioles, you don't have that. You're just like, "Fuck, I got to face these guys at the bottom." So to me, it's just about if you want to give them an extra at bat. But I'll tell you what, I love that Hyde's keeping Westy in there because Westy feels comfortable. He's coming up to bat with guys in position because the guys in front of him are getting on. So I wouldn't mess around too much with that, to be honest. I'd only try to move it if it's not working.
Yeah, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And I think at this point, you just keep rolling with it. You know, maybe make a matchup play or 2 here or there with like a couple pinch hits, like we've seen from Hyde, and that's it. You know, I right now they're firing all cylinders. I don't know why you would change much.
They can carry each other too, and we've talked about it. Where like it's not gonna be Colton every day who is the guy. It's not gonna be Westberg every day who is the guy. But you have 1 through 9 essentially almost every single game, a guy or 2 that can carry you, and then you know what? It's not their day the next day. Well, you have all these other guys that can carry. And that's why their lineup, and Ryan was talking about it with, 6, 7, 8, 7, 8, 9, the bottom of that order, you have guys that can still absolutely mash the cover off of the ball. And that's what makes them so dangerous. 1 through 9, there's just hitting everywhere. And it's so crazy that they have that deep of a lineup, but it is insane how deep it is.
They're leading the entire league by 4 runs. by 4 home runs. So they have 33 home runs, and the Red Sox are behind them with 29.
Wow.
Yeah,
All right, let me
and-
see. Go ahead.
I was going to say I think this is one of those situations where we've talked about it a few times already. When you're 6, 7, 8 is Cedric Mullins, who, God, I feel bad for Cedric. Ceddy, 10-game hit streak, comes in for one at bat last night, grounds out to end that, comes out, gets a hit today. That's brutal, but 11 straight games that he's kind of started in, gets a hit. Absolutely love that. Then you have Colton Cowser, who's one of the hottest hitters in all of baseball, coming in at number 7. And then number 8, how do you get over that? Oh, with Jordan Westberg, who can take you 480 dead center, or he's going to hit a line drive single past your shortstop. It doesn't matter. He's just always going to produce with guys on base. It truly is one of those things where, Ryan, like you talked about, there's no easy out in this lineup right now. There's no guy that you look at and go, okay, we feel comfortable for this stretch of the lineup. If we can face them, we can put in a lesser reliever, do whatever. You have to bring your A game against every single batter in this lineup, and that's what makes them so dangerous right now.
It does. It does, very much so. And I'm sorry if I disappoint anyone. This is a virtual background.
I know people really think you got it.
I would love to play the hell out of the piano.
I think you get one time in a stream, which is what go play something on the piano, Ryan. Go play something on the piano.
One day, this will be the setup here in the back as we continue to grow to the Ryan Ripken Show. And again, hit that like and subscribe button for us. If you like what we're doing here, we have a show Monday and Thursday and Sunday. Obviously, it's baseball season, so we're very hot on everything that's happening with the Orioles. There is a lot coming up as well when we get into football with the draft coming up. So keep in mind, we are having the draft special when we get to it. If you're into that type of thing, if you're not and you're just saying screw it, we just like you for baseball, that's cool too, because we have a lot of things going on moving forward. So keep that in mind. So much room for activities here.
Also, make sure that you guys are hitting up the channel memberships. If you guys haven't done so already, you can become part of the Holy Shirts and Pants Club. For $6.99, it was $5.99 for it's basically the cost of a Starbucks coffee, guys. You can help support the channel. Make sure you hit that join button next to subscribe, or I'm also putting a link in the chat as well if you can't see that join button. But just help support the channel. We certainly would appreciate it. Ryan needs a new computer. We need some more cameras. So you guys are the way to support that. Appreciate everybody who's already part of the club.
Yeah, and we are going to keep in mind for our channel members, I'm trying to post more on the community on YouTube, by the way, so people can see it. We'll try to post in the Discord as well. But we will have specific streams just for the members where if you want me to go a little bit more rip after dark or talk about some things that just you guys will get, that's where it can be a little bit more intimate. If you really want to see me answer more in depth of what you guys want to talk about, that's our goal here. And some other fun stuff too that we haven't fully disclosed yet, but maybe we'll save that for a different time. But it is fun. And again, it goes back to so we can give you guys more and more content. Like we're growing this. We had fun doing the Elias and the David Rubenstein interview. I promise you, it's not the last that we have upcoming. So again, all that helps us.
I was looking in the comments, just like analytics for the channel. And I see people are commenting on pictures of me for the channel members. You posted the picture of me with the sunglasses, and then you roasted me on the cereal poll. I'm just like, I'm getting flamed in the channel member. I don't even know what happened. I wouldn't even know it happened unless I wasn't looking.
Yeah. It wasn't that bad,
It was all not compared to some of the other stuff. Yes, but
Kevin, you put yourself in a hole. Let's be honest here. I'm just educating the people on the other stuff that you do. But D Porter, we've been doing that. Thank you, D Porter. We appreciate you. Thank you. Thank you for that. It means a lot. Hey guys, we actually got him in, and he apparently has good Wi-Fi. So that's kind of neat. And the guy that we're referring to is the guy you've been seeing in the chat. He has that picture of himself in a Baltimore Orioles uniform, and you're wondering, is that Photoshopped? Crazy enough, it's not. Zach Lather, former big leaguer for the Baltimore Orioles, and one of my former teammates. There he is, Zach Lather, everybody.
Hey, guys.
Yes.
Hey, how are we doing?
You know what? We missed the golf course Wi-Fi, to be honest.
Yeah, it's just a wall. It's not the golf course this time.
Damn it.
And he's
Hey,
not
so why
huffing.
don't go ahead,
I was
Brad.
gonna say, and he's not huffing, not walking around.
Yeah, that was quite an exercise there.
What's
Hey,
going on?
Yeah, why don't you always dive into it, Zach, a little bit? You were getting a little bit hot and bothered there about some pitching. Can you just explain to everyone a little bit about bullpen was the hot subject that I thought Brad had a great point on. It's the challenge of trying to find your role while also trying to win.
Yeah, I mean, you're not out there to develop anymore. You're there to perform, and when you know your role, it becomes a lot easier to perform when your role's periodically changing without prior knowledge. It becomes a lot more difficult to prepare, to recover. There's just so much that goes into it. It's like showing up to your day job when you know you do analytics or something, and they ask you to do HR. It's a different world that you kind of just have to acclimate to on the fly. So it's very hard to get your mind right day to day when it's not a consistent job that you're being asked to do.
I think that's well put, Zach. Hey, what you heard me getting naughty a little bit about with Mike and some of these guys. You know, you've spent a lot of time with Baumann too. Mike's got nasty shit, and I think that's where people, when we look at it, the biggest thing for him, I think you and I have talked about with Mike, is trying to just refine it and find himself getting comfortable in this. Because at times I'll see him rush a little bit and try to do a little bit too much. But as far as pure stuff, Zach, I mean, you can even tell some stories of what you've seen with it, because I know mine, but you have yours, of just of what he's capable of.
I remember, like, this is back in 2019, but we were in Double-A, and this man was throwing a no-hitter into the ninth inning, cruising 93, 95, comes out ninth inning, throwing 97, 98, just because he can. He's still got it in the tank, but he knew that he can pitch at 93, 95 and be successful to get outs. I was just looking at the stats from last year for him. He faced, I think, 290-something batters. He got out 70% of his batters. Got through them perfectly fine. Yeah, it's not going to be 100% every single time. Like, that's just never going to happen. But what he's been able to do is get outs. He gets outs at a very high rate, and in situations that aren't always constant. He's not always getting a clean inning. He's not always coming in with nobody on. He might come in with the heart of the order in the fourth inning. He might come in the heart of the order in the ninth inning. Like, you have different situations, and he has the repertoire for each situation that's needed. I mean, I think he still might have 4 pitches. So, I mean, having 4 pitches as a reliever is insanely valuable. That's why he's being used in these different situations of, hey, coming in the 5th, hey, coming in the 8th. Like, there are so many different situations that he's useful in because of his ability to pitch at a high level.
And they're nasty pitches. I think he's trying to figure out too a little bit of a cut Johnson at the moment here, Zach, and he's actually got a nasty changeup. But again, it's about feeling comfortable throwing it. Also, I laugh. Everyone thinks it says it's a knuckle curve. It is not a knuckle curve. It's like a gyro curveball, but that's for a whole different subject here.
We won't go into the analytics of it.
We don't need to get anal yet. Not at least with, well, Kevin likes to get anal, but Zach.
Wow. Whoa.
Whoa.
That's a
Right.
bold. That's Jesus.
Is it Rip After Dark yet? Whoa.
You're making it, apparently.
No. Well, Zach definitely has seen Rip After Dark, but that might be for a different topic here.
Seen Rip After Dark on the beach.
Oh.
Oh, whoa, little preview.
Wow.
Don't you get me started.
Okay, Zach, you got a question here? We don't need to. We'll heal on that one. Oh, geez.
I'm still recovering from what you just said about Kevin, but
Yeah, that's a wow. Yeah, I think you're still recovering.
yeah. But Zach, so we've talked a few times about on the show, Mike Baumann, like we're just talking about even things of questionable, pitches thrown. Like there's one time we always rave about how good of a fastball he has, and I believe it was against the Red Sox. Through 6 straight sliders, so wasn't really on his game. I believe he walked a guy and kind of got into some trouble there. Is that something where you're just kind of feeling out early in the year, like, okay, is this something I can rely on? Is this, something that he's trying to build on? Or do you think it's something that they're going back and saying, okay, that's not something we should do. Let's stick with the fastball. How does, as a pitcher, do you have a game like that and you immediately go back and you're like, okay, that didn't work. Now back to the drawing board?
Yeah, I think there's like different avenues to look at, like what the result is from that. So going in, it could be game plan. These guys might be struggling with the downward slider, like Mike's is very vertical. So if they're struggling with that, you might as well pepper them with it if you can land it for strikes and bury it. If your game plan is, okay, I want to start with my fastball, but not locating it very well. Let's try and get back to it with either your slider, curveball, or changeup. That's your B or C game. You're not always going to have your A game. So being able to establish that, okay, when I'm not feeling my best with my fastball, my slider is my go-to to maybe get back to the fastball. So you have different avenues of let's feel things out. Let's see where we are. And I think in the case of the slider maybe being used against Boston, if I can remember, I could be wrong. When I played against them, they were a very lefty heavy lineup, and a slider for Mike, slider plays better into those lefties because it is so vertical and at the hard velo of 90 to 92. So you're getting the depth that you want. You're getting the look rather than just the heavy velo to those lefties that if they get it right, they're going to hit it off the monster. Even if it is away, they can poke it away to the monster. So I think there's a lot of like a mix of the game plan versus what you were saying. It could be early in the year trying to get a slider going. So you kind of have different goals in mind long term. But if they're getting outs at that time, I don't change it.
So are you saying that there's more to pitching than just go out there and throw ball over plate and get people out? Because from what you would see on Twitter, they're like, well, why doesn't Baumann just like get them out? And it's like, I think that's probably part of the game plan.
Yeah, we don't always talk about that, but yeah, that is the goal. Yeah, we just want to get outs. It doesn't really matter how we do it, but the goal is to get the outs.
Yeah, and I think that's something
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I think that's something that people don't necessarily understand. And like you just pointed out is, even we question like, okay, why is he going so slider heavy against this lineup? The Orioles, and especially their analytics and, how they look at things, they're diving deep into these game plans and going, okay, these guys struggle against the sliders. Maybe it was the batter or, the 2 straight batters that they like. So it's part of the game plan. It's not necessarily just like Mike is going out there and going, okay, let me just see, let me throw 6 straight sliders. I'm sure that wasn't, going into it something where they said, okay, we're throwing 6 straight sliders in this at bat. It's also reading, what the batter's doing. Is he fouling stuff off? Is he behind, in front of it? And it's also what the catcher's calling. So we're obviously big Mike fans here, but I enjoy kind of seeing, the side that you bring of it's a lot more to this, especially game planning and stuff, than it is just, okay, you go out there and throw your best stuff, because there are times you don't have your best stuff.
Yeah, I think everything you said kind of spot on. It's game planning. The Orioles do a great job with their analytics department of being they give you all the information you need to be successful. So it's a matter of if your best stuff isn't on and that's what game plan, we got to go to plan B. So just being able to read that on the fly. And I think guys like Adley and James McCann, they've been around the game and play at a high level. So they're able to read that stuff pretty quickly. I'd say within the first 8 warm-up pitches that they get. So it's a back and forth with the catcher and just being on the same page.
Hey, Zach, this is actually a good question. I mean, it's funny. We've talked about this a lot, but this would be a good education piece here so Tom asked, how long does it take to figure out what you have that day? You know, unlike for starting pitchers, guys coming out of the pen, it's like, hey, you're hot. You got to go. So maybe touch a little bit on explaining what that means to have it that day. Obviously, you did a little bit, but then in the bullpen sense, what the hell that actually entails.
So I think like at a big league bullpen guy that they have 2 pitches that they're always going to have. So going in, how to throw your fastball, how to throw your first off-speed pitch. Like you will always have those 2 pitches, and they might not be your best, but the shape will be pretty consistent, and you're going to be able to lean back on those if needed. So I think just having it early isn't necessarily the worst thing. Getting your arm going in the bullpen is the important part, and then having those 2 in your back pocket that they can get you back onto throwing strikes or certain locations where the damage won't be as much as if you miss with another pitch, say in the inside corner rather than the outside. I'd say once you get onto the game mound, that's when you really have a sense of where your stuff is that day, because you can pinpoint pretty much every pitch in a bullpen when you're getting ready to go. But once you step out on the mound, it's just a different atmosphere. So those first 5 to 8 pitches, you'll get an idea of what's on, what's off, and what you can lean on.
Thank you for answering that, Zach.
Oh, you're welcome, Ryan.
Does this make it better when I lean in to speak? Can you guys hear me better?
I hate that you're doing that.
What?
You sound like Kevin when Kevin talks off and he leans out of screen to talk into his microphone.
Yeah. When I'm like this. Oh yeah, there it is.
Oh yeah.
Is this better? Can you guys
hear
me?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, we can hear you.
This is great
Ryan
content,
being,
guys. This is great content.
Yeah, this is just Ryan being. Also, real fast, Ryan, do we want to talk about maybe tomorrow a little bit while we have people here?
Well, yeah. Yeah.
What do you got, Kevin?
I want to get Zach. I want to get your opinion because you were in the comments talking about Jackson when we were having that conversation about his swing being fine, and people have to realize how quick your decisions have to be just in the game of baseball in general. Where are you on Jackson right now? Because it's like obviously the hits aren't coming, but I think we're seeing improvements that aren't necessarily showing up in the box score.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I don't know how many games he's got under his belt right now, but the man didn't even have a full MLB season worth of games in the minor leagues. Do you know how much can go into one season and the ups and downs? I mean, Ryan can talk more of that as a hitter, but you're going to ride the wave, and it's just a matter of if that low part is in the middle, like if he's still getting on base. I don't know how much, like I haven't been watching day to day, but if he's getting on base, he's being a productive defender, like he's not sacrificing or making that big of a sacrifice with the rest of the team. The rest of the team's still playing well. You're putting all this pressure on a 20-year-old to perform like he's a MLB all-star in his first year, in his first month. Give that. I don't see anything wrong with this swing. He might be second-guessing himself more than he did in the minors, but that's what happens. You're at the highest level of the game. You're going to have questions of what are they throwing? How are they going to attack me versus guys in AAA or AA? Like they just attack different because their weapons are different. You're not going to have guys with elite fastball, elite slider, and elite curveball all at the AAA level. They might have 2 or 3, maybe 1 of 3 that they're able to get by with. And he's just got to adjust to that. And I think he's doing a fine job. He just give him some more ABs. He'll get through the slump. The guy's 20. He's probably hasn't slumped at the professional level. So you're only going to be challenged when he's at the big league level. There's no reason for him to go down. He's probably going to do the same thing that he was doing before. So just being able to kind of let him ride this out. You got everyone else around him producing. So you just ride it out. He's too talented to give up and critique him this early.
Ride the wave.
Yeah.
Ride the wave, baby. And it's everyone has a different path to getting up there. So, and again, it's I was saying earlier, Zach, if you heard it, I mean, he's having competitive at bats. Yes, he's swinging and missing where he might be pulling off a hair and trying to do a little bit too much, but it'd be another problem if he wasn't seeing the baseball well, and he's seeing the baseball really well. He's competing. He just hasn't had it go his way. Either whether it's just everything in baseball. It's funny, like we talk about, like if you bloop a ball in, if a ball gets called a ball that's supposed to a strike that's supposed to be a ball, you line out to Adam Frazier. Like one of these things change, it feels like you open up and you can breathe. But right now, everyone just all they want to see is, they just want to see the actual result and not necessarily looking at the process of it. And yeah, I mean, pressure's on the guy, and I feel for him. And I can be honest, yeah, I don't think anyone else been here 1 for 30 in their career. I have. Sucks. Brutal.
Yeah, I think as Orioles fans, they've become accustomed to these young dudes just raking. Like, yeah, Adley had his struggles, Gunnar had his struggles in the beginning, and look where they are now. I just think give it time, let him adjust. I think once he starts seeing guys being able to execute, hey, they're attacking me up in the zone, I'm swinging just under, or I'm reaching out for it. Like these different things that they're attacking him with, he's going to adjust. It's just so new right now. These guys, when they go to throw up, they throw up. When they want to bury their curveball, they bury their curveball. Like he will catch the mistakes when they come, and you just got to ride out pitchers making good pitches and maybe some umpires giving some borderline calls.
Yeah, that kind of leads into this part here. And Joe, shout out Joe.
Shout out you, Joe.
Shout out you, Joe. Round of applause for Joe. Hey, Zach, the ABS challenge system. I think no one would like that more than Jackson Holliday right now on some of the calls. Your opinion, why it's taking so long for MLB to want to implement it?
Based on my knowledge of MLB and the umpires union, they typically side together. And if the umpires union does not want it, I do not see MLB implementing it unless there is an incentive for the umpires union. I've seen it work in person at the AAA level, and there aren't too many that I'm like, yeah, challenge that. But the ones that there are, it's few and far between. So I think it's one of those things where you're going to have to pick your spots for it, definitely. But it's not a perfect system, even though there is one. So just keep that in mind. No matter, you're going to get some pitches that are called a ball that are a strike, and you're going to get some balls that are called strikes that are reversed. So it's, I said two things there, but yeah, I think it's just if you're going to get strikes that are called balls, you're going to get balls that are called strikes. You're going to pick and choose, and it's no different than calling what they do now. So it's just situationally they'll come up differently.
Yeah, real quick. I think that's something that people are kind of missing in the grand scheme of things is this is not some perfect, we implement the ABS challenge system. Every pitch is now called perfectly by the book. It's a system where you only have a certain amount of times that you can use it throughout a game. There are different rules that come with it. So I don't think, it's going to take away maybe some of the egregious calls, stuff where everyone kind of looks and is like, oh man, what's that? But like you said, if the umpires union, stuff like that, if the MLB and the union don't want it, it's probably not going to come up. I don't think this is a system that even if it is brought up, is they bring it up and it's like, it's a perfect world now. Everything is called perfectly, it's going to be something where there are still imperfections with it. And they're just going to be different added, things now into the MLB of, do you use your ABS challenge now? Do you use it later? Different things like that, instead of people thinking every pitch is now suddenly going to be by the book, a strike or a ball.
So the one big thing I don't think people understand is it's going to be much more beneficial for pitchers than it does even out for hitters, because when you miss a spot, it could be 17 inches in the very corner, just nick like a millimeter of the zone. It's called a strike. Like all it has to do is touch the box, and it's a strike on the ABS. So it's not going to be as beneficial as you think, or as these fans think, because of that. It's almost giving, okay, the plate's 17 inches. It's almost giving almost a ball off either way to become a strike.
Yeah, there was that play the other day in the minors that they challenged it. They challenged the ball call, and they reversed it. Strike three ended the game, and it clipped the top right part of the strike zone, but it caught it on the way down, which if you watch it in real time, you're like, yeah, there's no way that's a strike. Like
Exactly.
Zero chance. But because it clipped the box the way that it was structured, they got it reviewed and it changed. So it's going to be so finicky. It really is. And
there's no perfect answer. Like the MLB umpires, there have been some very shaky games, but they're not perfect. The ABS system isn't a perfect system to want to use. So being able to read an umpire, okay, if they're giving the low strike, you have to adjust. If they're not giving the high strike, you have to adjust. Like these things happen, and that's been baseball for however long, 200 years? I don't know. As long as baseball's been around, you know?
Oh, yeah. Good kids. Good kids. And if you're new to the program here, by the way, taking a break for a second, hit that like and subscribe button for the Ryan Ripken Show. We do impromptu streams. Usually we do a Sunday show, but since we were all coming from different places, this is the impromptu one. We got Zach Lather, former big league pitcher for the Orioles, but more importantly, teammate of Ryan Ripken and friend of the Ryan Ripken Show. We do have our scheduled programming for tomorrow. And kind of a big day. We're doing an earlier show. I believe we're starting at 1:30 because, Zach, I believe we tried to throw out a lot of hints, kind of, on YouTube. YouTube, we let our Holy Shirts and Pants members know early who those hinted players were. But they had a big day today. And actually, if you hit a home run the third inning, that means you're coming on the Ryan Ripken Show. Is that fair to say, Zach? Did that give it away yet or no?
I mean, yeah, I would say pretty odd. Also, if you're getting post-game press conferences together, you're probably coming on the Ryan Ripken Show tomorrow. So, yeah, it should be a lot of fun. Two young guys that we keep talking about coming on the show, and maybe they can talk a little bit more about the adjustment time in the MLB and stuff like that. I will be wearing a cow suit. I will be wearing a cow suit. Like what? You already posted on Twitter, Ryan.
Oh, I just came up with you're gonna wear a cow suit for Cowser. I'm gonna do something for Westberg based off of your tweet, Zach. I'm not gonna say what it is. I'm gonna surprise everybody. Now I need to go out and get it. Oh, I'm so excited for this. Oh, I'm so excited.
I'm a little scared.
Me too. But it's gonna work out.
Louth, I don't know what to do with this situation.
Don't ask me. I don't know.
Well, and for those who don't know, I think actually everybody was not a fan of my khaki story. I know, Zach, I explained it to you. I explained it to you, and you said you do not accept my answer.
No.
But they had a little bit of, they were stretchy enough where it worked out for me.
You wear baseball pants?
I had the opportunity, and I decided to go the other direction. Maybe that's why I was injured for literally all 4 of my seasons in high school. Since I didn't wear the proper.
It's not even like the baseball was bad. Like, that was really bad. But the atrocious part is the khakis to cross country. Like
that was also a thing.
Like everyone else was wearing shorts and Kevin was wearing khakis running out there.
Yeah, well, not during the races. I would wear the uniform, but during the practice, you'd have to do like hills, like cross country. You do hills up and down, the hills, and I'd run those in khakis. Yeah,
he was training in adverse conditions, so
that's
when
right.
he was running. Right. Yeah, it's all preparation. That's all it is. You try harder in practice, so it's easier in the game.
Yep, that was my thing. I would start off. I'd start off really fast, like front of the pack. I'd get really, really tired, like 2 minutes after, and like kind of just like be laboring, and then the last like half mile, just everything I had, I'd pass like 50 people on the way to the finish line. That was my strategy every single time.
There we go. I like the strategy.
Ryan, it feels like you're enjoying this story.
Ryan is suffering in silence.
You're a good kid. You're a good kid. And hey, Zach, you got a special shout out from back.
Hi, Izzy.
Izzy's the best.
Hi, Gabby.
The
I know
best.
you're sleeping right now, but hi, girls. I just got a picture from my wife of Gabby just sleeping in her chest.
Adorable fam, really is. Really, really is. And yeah, we'll have to have you on more and more to talk some shop, talk some ball, figure out what's going on. Because there's a lot to talk about. And for those that have heard some of it, there is so much more we can dive into on the pitching side, the baseball side, the life side, the after hours side, which we'll save for a different time.
This is what I get.
Hey.
That's awesome.
I love that.
I still can't believe how the years have gone by. Holy shit.
Ryan, can I tell a story about my daughter real quick? This actually has to do with your apartment.
Oh gosh, yes, please.
So when I got called up in 2021, I was up for the whole month of September. Ryan and his girlfriend were generous enough to let me and my wife and my, I think, 6-month-old daughter sleep there. And there was one night in particular, it was before a start of mine, that my daughter would not sleep. And I don't know how Jamie slept through this, because I sure didn't. I slept on Ryan's couch while my daughter and my wife slept in the room. Well, kind of slept. She was crying all night. And then I woke up and had a pitch. Jamie was a trooper through that entire month of just dealing with a 6-month-old going crazy.
She loved it. She loved every second of it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the girls had fun.
Yeah, I mean,
so real quick, what's that like? Like, you just don't get a lot of sleep, and then you're like, well, gotta go pitch in the majors now. Like, is that just you're just going for adrenaline at that point, or?
I'll tell you what game it was. It wasn't one of my good ones. It was the game against the Blue Jays after we had a doubleheader with them, and they came back in both doubleheader games, and yeah, just gonna wipe that one from the memory bank.
Didn't happen. But,
Yeah,
but the memories we made with our families are the ones that matter the most.
Yes,
not what
right.
happens on the scoreboard, right? Maybe.
Well,
no.
I didn't get asked about that. I got asked about what happened on the scoreboard.
Don't feel
That is
that.
true. I did try. That is true.
Yeah.
Yep. Zach, that's the same thing. You know, Bollinger up loud gets asked about how he does on the softball field. It's not about what he does on the pod. It's about what he does.
Speaking of, Zach, do you want to read out your final stat line for today?
Oh, I put on a show today. Absolute show. We dropped a 50 burger in the second game. Absolute pure electricity. We've never done that before. I think I hit it out of the infield 3 times, which is, well, actually, 4 times. So I got 2 infield singles, which for slow pitch softball is just incredible. You have to, it's almost harder to get an infield single, but got 2 infield singles. Had just 2 beautiful oppo hits, just going with the pitch, putting it right between the second baseman and the first baseman. It's fundamentals. Some people like home runs in slow pitch softball. I'm a fundamentals guy. I'm just going to put it where they give it. And at the end of the day, I got 2 RBIs. I think I was 4 for 6. And, just helped the team win by 26. So if I wasn't there, who knows how the game goes. 2-0, though. That's the important thing. 2-0.
You just keep the wheels turning around those bases. That's all. It is.
And actually,
next man up.
So we you have an automatic, like, you can get a sub for a runner 1 person, and I did. We have a kid who has like a sprained ankle on our team, and he bats like 5 behind me, and like after the order flips, and I did take the the runner instead of allowing him to have it. I didn't think he was going to get back up. So I got the single and immediately called for a pinch runner. I did not run a lot today. And then everyone's like, we need that for the guy with the sprained ankle. And I was like, that's tough. Like, that really is tough right now. But, sometimes I wanted the wheels on first. I wanted strategically get the wheels on first. I'm just strategic.
This is why we're going to bring Ripped with Rip to the program as well, because, Zach, we got to mix in a sprint once in a while. You are still only 24 years old. So the fact that it's sore.
I am so sore from running. I went first to third twice today, and it was the worst decision I've ever made. Like, I was legging stuff out in on the gap balls, and it was nothing was fun. Nothing was fun. There's nothing more that the hungover body likes than quick, sudden bursts of movement in 46-degree weather at 9 a.m., and I felt it immediately.
You know what we're going to do? This will be a nice special. This will be the special. Yeah, we'll do the special. You are going to document your next at bats, and then Lather and I are going to come on here and break it down of what happened.
Big board breakdown. Yes.
Oh, I'm gonna project down the screen.
Yes.
That can be something for members. So we can start doing that. We can have my updates from softball and some film study for the members each week. I will say I didn't strike out today, which you would think like, okay, it's slow pitch softball. Of course you're not striking out. I have no idea what the strike zone is. This is year 4. I go down looking on average like once every other week because I just do not understand the strike zone. And it's just I'll foul one pitch off and then it's like automatic 2 strikes. I'm done. I've gone down looking a ridiculous amount over the years.
Okay. Well,
I'm an OBP guy. I try to get the pitcher to throw a lot of pitches.
Yeah, work the count. Oh yeah, I see it. Just trying to get that pitch count up.
Yep. No.
So I might for Kevin. I'll wear khakis in honor of Kevin.
Thank you. You should.
Okay. Hey guys, kids, I have to go see Mr. Rocco DeSangro here. I got to do a little TV work tonight. Talk about what happened with the Orioles, So if you're in the area, I'll be on Fox 45 later tonight. Give you guys an update. Chris, I think that's a great idea. I think that builds morale.
I wanted to say I once again hit a ball into the gap that clearly should have been a double, but I did hit the one-eye Tatis Selly on my way to first and then hit about 5 different first base celebrations, and I did not make it to second. So, next batter was a gap ball, and I went base to base. Like the guy behind me wanted a double. No, was not run to third. Was not run to third. We went base to base at 9 a.m. There was no chance the body was getting to third on that
so
one.
Early.
Yeah. Okay. Well, on that note, on the way out, guys, if you don't mind hitting the like and subscribe button for the Ryan Ripken Show. We do it Sundays, Mondays, Thursdays. We're going to have Zach Lather back on more to talk about pitching and baseball and maybe some Rip After Dark. Maybe. And a lot more, maybe. And a lot more to break down Zach Bollinger's incredibly interesting softball stat lines. But tomorrow, 1:30 p.m. is our show starting tomorrow. We'll preview the Angels. We will talk a little shop about some other sports. And obviously, we will have our 2 guests, Kowser and Westberg, joining us on the show. So be there. It'd be great. And, guys, I think that's it. O's win. Hope you guys have a day, have a night. Enjoy your Sunday. And that does it for this edition of the Ryan Ripken Show Impromptu. And we don't have the music.
Yeah.